Who will be this year's Kory Sheets? For those of you who are like 23 and don't know, Kory Sheets was the guy maybe 15 years ago who would just tear it up for the 49ers in preseason, running back. He would lead the league in rushing yards in the preseason, like yearly, and then get cut, and no one would pick him up. And he never ended up being any good. But he was the preseason champ. He was a lot of fun to watch. Who do you think will tear it up for the Niners in preseason this year and get cut? And no one will claim him, and he'll wind up on the Niners practice squad.
So the first thing I have to do is give a nod to Kory Sheets and to another label. I think it was Niners Nation. As I was doing my research here, there is a guy who used to do an annual Kory Sheets, like this type of topic, who's going to be this year's Kory Sheets. He hasn't done it since 17 or 18. I didn't steal the idea from him, but saw that someone else has done it, wanted to give props to someone else out there looking at last Kory Sheets. And so for me, it is about who's that guy who is going to light it up and then not make the team, right? That's who we're looking for here. And I want to give a special nod to Kory Sheets, who then went on to the Canadian Football League and kind of crushed it. He had 2 really good seasons. He actually set the record for most yards rushing in a championship game with 197 and 2 TDs in the Grey Cup. What a name, the Grey Cup. How unexciting is that name? Like
the vanilla cup.
Yeah.
The whatever cup.
But
the black cup. Yeah, no, that's
he
good.
Did crush it.
Yeah.
It had those 2 years, then came back to the Raiders that tore his Achilles, so never got a shot to crush it in the NFL. So shame. But I think to me, I had to go through like, what are the position groups that are most likely? It's got to be a skill player because fans are fickle like that. It's got to be someone who can put up crazy stats. Like we're not going to fall in love with someone. Maybe if it were a bunch of interceptions, we might fall in love with a pass defender who put up stats like that. But I think it's got to be someone who gets yards and touchdowns. So I went through it. Is it going to be a running back? But I think that the 4 running backs who are going to be studs on this team are all going to make the team. I think to me, I think that the odd man out is JaMycal Hasty. So I think you've got Sermon, you've got Mostert, you've got Gallman, and you've got Elijah Mitchell. I think those 4 to me will make the team. I'm projecting here based on what I've seen from Elijah Mitchell, and I wouldn't be shocked if that were the other way around. But a 6th round pick, if he gets cut, I think he's swooped up by another team.
I think that's what I'm saying. Like he could be the Kory Sheets because JaMycal Hasty's good. And if he gets actual playing time in preseason, he could average 6 yards a carry. So
yeah. I think you have better breakaway speed from Elijah Mitchell, which I think is going to benefit him within the 1-cut system. So that's my prediction there. But I don't think that there's anyone there that JaMycal Hasty, if he doesn't make the roster, we had our love affair with him last offseason. I don't think it'll be again. Will it be the backup tight end battle? That could get interesting if we start seeing 2 tight end sets. Someone really goes big there. But I can't imagine spreading the ball around too much to Ross Dwelley or someone like that. So to me, it's more the wide receiver group where it's most likely that they have this standout and then a bottleneck of wide receivers that are pretty equal from 3 to 6, the 3 to 6 position, and it being a tough call on who makes the roster. So I started combing through who are the wide receivers that I could see have the physical skill set to make that impression on fans, but then not make the team. And to me, it was an interesting one in Kevin White. And I'll tell you why. Kevin White has the physical skill set to be a number 1 wide receiver in this league. I mean, that's why he was drafted so high in the 1st round. But he's never been able to put it all together. And if you take that into the preseason, you have a possibility of showcasing those physical gifts, but you have a coaching staff who knows that he's not put it all together in any previous seasons, and so has their doubts about ability to transition that from preseason to the regular season. So I think fans could latch on to what they see and not take into account what he's put forth so far in his career.
It's a good call. The way I look at the wide receiver spot, though, is so wide open. It's almost like an open competition for the number 3 spot between like 10 people.
Yeah.
That if someone steps up, the Niners won't sneeze at that performance. If it's Travis Benjamin who goes crazy, Benjamin might make the team. If it's Kevin White who goes crazy in the preseason, he might make the team. I mean, Kevin White goes crazy in the preseason, they cut him. That would be kind of amazing. Maybe they would, but I feel like they're hoping someone steps up. That's why I went with Hasty, because like they're already locked in at running back. Hasty's screwed. Just like, you remember how Jeff Wilson Jr. used to be? He used to be Jeff Wilson Jr. He didn't go for big numbers, but I always thought he looked great in preseason. And then he'd get cut. And then no one would pick him up. I'm like, what the hell is going on? He's obviously good. And then when he got his opportunity, he was good. So a lot of times running backs are just undervalued because they're running backs. I got a guy, though. And Chase beat me to it. Rosen.
Ooh.
Rosen. Now, here's the thing with Rosen. Will he even play, though? Because the Niners have a quarterback competition.
Yeah.
All these reps are going to Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. As long as Jimmy's on the team, those two are splitting them, and Rosen and Sudfeld will get a couple throws a day in practice. And now that there's only 3 preseason games instead of 4, the 4th was usually the time you would see the third string quarterback. Right. That's when Mullins would come in, or back in the day, whoever it was. Now, is Rosen even going to play? I could see the Niners saying, you know what? If he plays and plays well and we cut him, he's gone. Someone's picking him up. But if we don't play him, we can put him on our practice squad. We can stash him. They might do that. So
quick follow-up question to you there. Is your anticipation then that they would then keep Sudfeld as the third, or that we'd roll with 2 quarterbacks on the roster?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's possible they could roll with 2 quarterbacks. If they keep Jimmy Garoppolo, they could say, like, you know what? We'll put 2 quarterbacks on the practice squad. We don't need to give a spot on our 53 whatever to a third quarterback. They could do that.
Yeah, they certainly could.
And they could game the system by playing neither Sudfeld or Rosen in the preseason.
It'll be interesting. This is the first preseason with the shortened preseason schedule. This is the first opportunity we're having to see what teams will do in regard to the third preseason game. Will they convert it to where the third preseason game now looks a lot like the 4th preseason game used to, where you don't see very many starters at all? Or will we see fewer backups? And I think that's the fear for people who made it as undrafted free agents, is now you're reducing the chances for these guys to make the team. And for third string quarterbacks like Rosen or Sudfeld, you're reducing the opportunity to see them on the field. It's an interesting thought to imagine that they would intentionally hold him back to hope not to showcase him. You would think that there's enough film out on Rosen now that most people have some concrete opinion of him, but they may just blame the offensive systems he's been within. And when you see him within Kyle's system, that would truly define whether he is starting caliber or not. I sure want to see him, so I hope that you're wrong about that, but I could see that happen.
I'm guessing the Niners would, in a perfect world, what they would do is they would put Garoppolo on the field in week 1 of the preseason for 3 series. Get his feet wet. Yeah. And he leads a touchdown drive or 2 and looks really good. Then they play a lot of Lance. He plays most of the second quarter, into the third, if not into the third, not the whole third quarter. And he looks great too. And what Garoppolo's playing time in the first preseason game amounts to is a showcase, and they can trade him at that point, and they can go with Lance, and they can get Rosen some reps after that. It just seems like it's tough to trade Garoppolo until you've seen something from Rosen. They're in a tough spot. I don't know. They could have played him down the line last year, but they played Beathard instead. I won't really understand that one ever, but I'm very curious to see how they structured playing time for quarterbacks in preseason. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, me too. I'm anxious to see whether Sudfeld is above Rosen or not. I know that when you follow the money, he got a little bit of guaranteed money, but I believe it works out actually to be the vet guaranteed practice squad money that he got above the vet minimum. So if he makes a practice squad, that money is a moot point. It would only be weird if he got cut entirely. So I could see Rosen getting that third spot. But if they want to go 2 quarterbacks, you probably don't want to showcase Rosen.
Just Sudfeld hasn't done much in games. He's had like 2 appearances. He's thrown like 50 passes. I don't see that. Like, he keeps getting jobs in the NFL, but it can't be based on what he's done in games because he hasn't played. It must be that he's really good in meetings, really good in practices, and there is a value for a good scout team quarterback.
Absolutely.
But if they get in a position where someone has to play in a game and it's not Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, I feel like Rosen gives you a better chance to win because Rosen's a better quarterback. He's played more. He's won. He's more talented.
He's more talented.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the bottom line.